get an update this morning from Mr. Lezina with CPRA and Mr. Roberts with LUMCON on the National Estuarine Research Reserve.
Thank you. Morning, Chairman. Morning, members. Good to be here. It's this topic hadn't really updated the board in a while. We sort of just glanced at it a little bit, and so wanted to give a little more update and some announcements with that. So for the past good while, we have actually been going through the designation process to put a National Estuarine Research Reserve in Louisiana. I can tell you, if you're familiar with the program, I'll touch a little bit. There had been a gaping hole along the coastal states that Louisiana, of all places, didn't have an estuarine research reserve. So some time ago, the governor started that process with a nomination letter, and just wanted to give an update on where we are here, and some words from Dr. Roberts as well. So like I mentioned, National Estuarine Research Reserve right now is about 30 places, protected places. This is through NOAA as the lead federal agency. It's a state partnership through National Ocean Service. So similar to Sea Grant or the estuary program with EPA, if you're familiar with that. Really trying to get I'll talk about it a little later, more like a franchise, I guess, and probably get mad that I say that, but a little bit of federal push behind some local issues, but also at the same time bringing awareness on some of these things. So it's about local relevance. It's the needs of the areas where these research reserves are located. It's about the science there. It's about the people there. It's those places, but also bringing on board that more national outlook, national monitoring, the platform to really move some of these things and get that education going. So I mentioned partnership, and the state's role in that is land ownership and management. In this particular case, you'll see that reserve staff members are employed. They're state of Louisiana employees. Program implementation, the day-to-day operations, and of course money. The funding is the 30% match with the federal government, NOAA, on that case. The federal role, like I mentioned, is national policy, program guidance, technical assistance, which is a really big part of this program, to be able to rely on all of what NOAA has in these particular areas, and then program coordination of the federal program, and 70%, as I mentioned, money that gets these things going. So here's a picture of where we are right now. This is the Atchafalaya Delta. You can see it's a really large area. Blue is a buffer area and the yellow is a core. And not to fixate this, but just get the folks to make aware, this is the currently nominated area for Louisiana's Estuarine Research Reserve. There were quite a few places across the state. There had been a lot of work done through Louisiana Sea Grant, especially the hard work of Dr. Twilley to be able to move some of these into a position where we could then have the governor nominate the Atchafalaya area for designation as this particular spot, and that's what that's where we are today. So, just a quick update on the process and timeline. There's a letter of interest that the governor provided to NOAA, a site selection and nomination. Took a lot of folks, a lot of them from your agencies that were involved, and representatives, community representatives, to be able to do that, and then the nomination of that site, the Atchafalaya Delta. So currently we're in where you see on purple on your screen, the draft environmental impact statement, the management plan, really laying out what this place is going to look like for the first 5 years. All of that working with NOAA to move this thing forward, and then finally we'll get to designation and operations on there. So timeline, 2022 is the nomination that was officially accepted by NOAA of the Atchafalaya. You see the items I just said in 23. We're pushing very, very hard to get this done, and record of decision and designation by first quarter of 24, calendar year 24. I hope we get there. We're pushing like heck to do it. There's been a lot of people here that are responsible for that, and so we're gonna fight like heck to do that with our federal counterpart. And then lastly, because I know our chairman appreciates brevity in those things, I did want to announce, as I mentioned, this is a partnership. CPRA and Sea Grant had been tasked with actually getting this thing up and going and moving. The staff at CPRA are actually involved in the environmental impact statement, the management plan, the sort of day-to-day work. But at the end of all this, there's going to be an agreement with NOAA on who manages this research reserve. And it's different. Some are universities, some are state agencies across the country. What we have now is on behalf of the governor, we'd like to say that the Louisiana Universities Marine Consortium, and of course the Board of Regents, as they are a part, will represent and manage this entity as we go through now the process once it's designated on the ground and going. And so hence the reason Dr. Roberts sitting next to me is executive director of the consortium. And so I'd like to turn it over to him briefly if you have any comments.
Thank you, Brian. And thank you, board, for the opportunity to speak with you for a very brief amount of time today. I'm happy to talk to any of you more detail about this later on. This is very exciting for me personally as well as professionally. I first started doing a lot of my research at a ANERR site in Massachusetts. And when I moved down here as a faculty member, I was sort of astonished that we didn't have one, because I've been doing work in these wonderful sites for most of my research career. And I've been very fortunate to have the opportunity to lead the Atchafalaya Basin proposal team and work with a tremendous group of people and to learn and interact with the stakeholders throughout the basin, both the individuals that live there as well as the different entities that have interest within that basin, and seeing the tremendous outpouring of support. Just one brief example is, I gave a town hall meeting in Morgan City during the pandemic, and we had to keep bringing more and more chairs in. We had 250 people that showed up, plus there's another 150 people online, because people there were so interested and engaged in having this NERR. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to take another role. Just briefly, the Atchafalaya Basin, to me, is just really a unique system throughout the entire country. It contains all the habitats that's found within the state. It serves as a model for how our state, as well as other deltaic systems, are formed, which makes this a truly unique addition to the NERR system. There is no other system on all those 30 states that is anything close to this in terms of the scale of a river delta. So it's another way to highlight how unique we are and what we contribute. So for those of you that don't know, LUMCON is a consortium of all the institutions of higher education in the state, including all of the members of the LSU, UL, Southern, the community and technical college systems, as well as the private institutions. So what we bring is a collaboration and coordination of the academic institutions together to work to try to make this the best that it can. And we look forward to having the opportunity to engage with the local, state, federal, and NGO partners to help develop and manage what I'm sure is going to quickly become the highlight of the entire national NERR system. So in brevity, I want to thank you guys for the opportunity. And like I said, I'm more than happy to talk with more of you individually in the future as we move forward.
So obviously we're excited about the partnership here on behalf of the Atchafalaya Basin program, the upper part that CPRA oversees, and fitting those together, but especially the opportunity for universities, plural, right? Both secondary and primary. So we're really excited about that. Happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lezina and Dr. Roberts. And I'll just say, this is something that really came out of Governor Edwards' second term priorities when we started looking at the overall health and sustainability of the Atchafalaya Basin. How do you use the Atchafalaya Basin to inform other restoration efforts across our coast? He formed a task force, and I've said this many, many times before. If there's one area of our coast that I feel that we don't have our head around from an overall health, sustainability, and utilization, it is the Atchafalaya Basin. And I think that the opportunity that this NERR presents is one that we need to take full advantage of. And so to you, Dr. Roberts, obviously there's been several conversations with the Board of Regents, with LUMCON, with Commissioner Kim Hunter-Reid. And I think you hit the nail on the head. The value that LUMCON brings to this is it is a consortium of universities. And so there are a lot of universities, to be quite frank with you, that are very interested in this concept. in this initiative from LSU. There's a Nichols Coastal Center that is being built on the campus of Nichols State University. And so I would just strongly encourage you to allow for LUMCON to live up to its consortium mission, to bring those universities in to collaborate on all of the various issues that this NERR is going to be focusing on. Because again, I think that this has been a long time coming, and this was a conversation that I believe started in the previous administration that went nowhere, and Governor Edwards felt that this was an important part of our state that needs some attention. So any questions for Brian or Dr. Roberts? If you do, press your button, Mr. Hidalgo.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I have a statement that's been prepared by the St. Mary XL, which is a group that worked pretty hard in getting this from Lanier to ANERR. And I think that's the new term for it, Atchafalaya near. But I'd like to read this little statement, and they apologize. They didn't find out until yesterday that this was going to be on the agenda today, and so I've got a statement which I'll pass on to you, and I've given to the chairman already. St. Mary XL congratulates the Louisiana University's Marine Consortium, LUMCON, under the Louisiana Board of Regents for being designated as a lead state agency for the Atchafalaya National Estuarine Research Reserve. Recognizing that LUMCON is a consortium of 24 member institutions, St. Mary XL requests prominent participation in the reserve by all members of universities to extend LUMCON's research resources beyond its current areas. In addition, St. Mary XL encourages the LSU College of the Coast and Environment and the LSU Civil and Environmental Engineering Department to take a prominent place under LSU's university membership with LUMCON to preserve and advance a complete river delta system to the nation. This complete river system involves riverine flooding, riverine sedimentation, river dredging, river diversions, and levee construction, all of which significantly impact the core areas of the reserve, the Atchafalaya River Delta and Wax Lake Delta. As a best practice in reserve management, St. Mary XL requests that from its inception that the lead state agency locate in St. Mary Parish, Morgan City area, to maximize the education, research, community, training, and stewardship of the Atchafalaya. St. Mary XL looks forward to the stewardship of the Atchafalaya National Estuarine Research Reserve by the Greater Higher Education State Agency. Once again, congratulations to LUMCON. So these people in St. Mary XL have been, I think, working all along to help pursue this, and want to make sure that they participate going forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hidalgo. I think you appreciate that statement. I think you raise a valid question. So obviously we've got CPRA involved here. We have LUMCON, but I guess from a structural operational framework, if that even makes any sense. So obviously LUMCON is going to play a role here, but we have heard from many people within the basin that they want this NERR to have a presence in Morgan City, within St. Mary Parish. And so at what point in time will that decision be made, Brian? I mean, obviously that's going to have to be in conjunction with oh, I'm sorry. Either one, whoever has the answer.
Roberts, yeah.
They even look alike, don't they?
I wore my hair the same today. Yeah.
Mr. Lezina, how about that?
We're there with starting to put that. So I mentioned the preliminary management plan. You put a preliminary plan in place for those 5 years. Obviously, there's funding requirements for facilities and where we're going to do that. But we start laying out exactly that. What Brian would say is the sort of the shape of how this is going to look here. So we all appreciate the overwhelming support the city of Morgan City and certainly St. Mary XL is, and recognize the importance of having something in that area.
All right, very good.
Just one other thing, if I could. I know the people at St. Mary Excel have been working diligently looking for space and facilities and so forth. So, coordinate that with them, please. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, I want to acknowledge that, they've been a very important part of the entire proposal process, and they will continue to be important. And it is the desire to have the main headquarters in Morgan City. It will take a little bit of time. Instantaneously, if there's not a facility there and there isn't money, in the money that's given in the federal level, there isn't money to just build a building. So it takes a little bit of time, but there will always be a presence there. It has to be. I mean, you need to be in the center part of the basin, and that is the goal. And I also want to say, one of the things that we've been doing all along, the proposal team that we had representation from not just multiple of the universities throughout the consortium, but also a number of our nonprofits, both at the federal and local level, as well as the community engagement. In order for this to be a success, this is something where Louisiana has to buy in, and it's not just one individual organization that's going to lead to the success. So when you develop, advisory panels and other management structures, they're going to have these different stakeholders engaged, and that's the way we're going to overall have a successful NERR that is going to be the highlight of this national system.
Good. Very good. Thank you, Brian's. I see Brian squared. There you go. I don't see any further questions, so I appreciate the update and for both of you being here today.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.